whenever you are ready, Brian.
Boo really hate you, but Boo loves MrPaulJPowers.com.
I like it. Can you
All right.
do it a little closer to the mic, though, so that you have more presence?
Oh, okay. So 2 heart attacks. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Boo really hate you, but Boo loves MrPaulJPowers.com.
That was fantastic. Awesome. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's what. Oh,
It
my
was
face.
better.
It was.
That was good.
Hold on. I need to fix my green screen. Like I don't know if you guys probably can't see, but there's this black bar here that I'm going to fix real quick. So just a second.
I'm just disappointed I don't see what's supposed to be on the green screen.
Yeah.
Well, watch the stream then.
It's not live yet.
What?
We can't see the stream.
It should
It's
be
just-
live.
All right, let me
Ken's
refresh my
here.
page. All right, sorry I didn't refresh my page.
Yeah, refresh.
All right, there we go. Oh, dang, Ken got there first. Good job, Ken.
Well, and Ken simulcast to his, so he's probably watching us.
To all you Ken followers, welcome.
Now I hear us in the background. Who has?
Yeah,
our
I was
volume?
about to say that. It's not on my end.
I don't think it's me.
Brian.
I have headphones in.
You could just, if you want to be in the chat, that's fine. Just mute this stream.
It's not on my end. Wow, that's a
Oh,
delay.
there's the delay there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's like a big delay. That's
like
like
15
at least 2 seconds.
So I'm still, Brian. Do you still have the stream going on yours?
I have it closed out. My only audio source is my microphone. There shouldn't be a. Oh my goodness! Found it. I am so sorry about that.
No. worries.
No, that's great.
Glad we found it.
I'm
Okay.
glad we could.
I'm sitting here taking out my headphones like, okay, do I hear it? No. Yes. No.
So
Not me.
Rumble likes to autoplay videos even
Oh,
though your
yeah.
screen is turned off, and my phone was right next to the mic, so that's going to go on the floor now. So
All right.
Another reason to hate Rumble.
4
What?
familiar
Did I say
faces
that?
indeed, Ken. So Brian, do you have the original text or email I sent you that has the legal statement we have new guests read?
yeah, I can go ahead and pull it up really
Perfect.
quick. It should take me just
Thank
a quick sec.
Oh, you got to take the oath.
Yeah, Toby, you gotta take the oath.
The oath?
Put your hand on your heart and cross your eyes.
Cross your eyes.
You want me to go ahead and read her off?
Yeah, go for it.
I, Brian Scott, give permission to Francisco Ruiz and the Retro Rewind podcast to use my video, voice, and vocal commentary recorded within the Retro Rewind podcast in any past, present, and future recordings of the Retro Rewind podcast, in any and all media perpetuity without any restrictions and with no expectation to receive compensation now or in the future as it relates to any past, present, and future recordings of the Retro Rewind podcast. Now, where do I do the blood signature?
Your vocal signature is good enough.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
I remember reading that thing a number of years ago, and I regret it now because I wasn't a big deal then, but I'm kind of a big deal now. And just regret.
Hey, Cleva, this will be a classic, or now everyone can go home. Wow, we'll see about.
I just want to. Well, Cleva, have you watched it recently? I want to know.
Good question.
Now I want to know.
And while we're waiting, we're going to do 5 seconds of silence. So don't mute yourselves or mute your mic or anything. Just let it be however it would normally be if you talked. But this is so I can get your floor noise so I can remove it later. So we're going to start that now.
Okay, Power Rangers, let's do it!
Okay, thank you guys.
Lock on and fire!
Oh my gosh. You feel okay doing a Zach impersonation, Paul?
No, but here we go.
All right. Thumbs up if you guys are ready to actually start the podcast proper.
What are you crazy? Oh, yeah. Okay.
And for those watching live, Bobo, Ken, Cleva, thank you so much for being here. Everyone watching over on Ken's stream. The start bumper that starts the show is wrong. So my apologies to that. It'll be fixed in post.
Psych.
The rest should be fine. All right, here we go.
Just ready.
Okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3. What are you, crazy? That's lemming talk.
Wrong channel.
Hail Francisco, Emperor of Retro.
Wrong channel. Wrong channel.
Well, all right, Gunny. We're going to listen to this episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast.
Did I talk over you too much?
Flaxing crew stations. Scanning
I guess not.
the Addams Family, 1991.
Yeah.
Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind Podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, not really a fairy, PaulJPowers.com, Powers.
Hey, Francisco, are we finally doing an anime episode where we review
finally.
animated movies in May?
Can you believe it?
No, because I think it comes out in June.
It probably will. Fine. Point out the intricacies of our schedule. Man, I can't think of words. Anyway, along with Paul, for this discussion of the film FernGully, The Last Rainforest, we welcome, for the first time, Intel engineer, video game lover, and board game enthusiast, Brian Scott. Welcome, Brian.
Heyo, how's it going?
Going well. How about you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, it'll be fun. And in addition to Brian, we are glad to have back Chief Clergy of the Pod, Dustin Warford, who I hear is a big deal. Is that right?
I'm known to be kind of a big deal. Yeah,
okay,
that's
all right.
good.
Glad we got clarification on that.
But I cleared up my schedule so I could shell out some time for you guys. So thanks for having me back.
We really appreciate that, Dustin. Thank you. We know your schedule is wall to wall, so to fit us in, we are very blessed by that. And now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for FernGully, The Last Rainforest?
All right, sure thing. Here we go. Avatar was released December 10th, 2009. It was rated PG-13. Yeah?
So when I said FernGully, The Last Rainforest, how do you hear Avatar?
Because it's like the white man invades the natural for, resources. It's the same movie, right?
No, it's not.
There was even a giant tree.
All right. Let me go back. Let me try this again. All right. Dances with Wolves was October 19th. What? 1990. It's about the white man coming in, invading the natural land. No?
Again. FernGully, The Last Rainforest.
Okay,
not
hold on.
Dances with Wolves.
All right. The Last Samurai was released November 22nd.
That's even less like all this.
No, it's the white man invading the natural.
Oh my gosh. Paul?
All right.
If you don't give me FernGully, The Last Rainforest, I'm going to have an aneurysm. So will you please give me that
All
movie?
right. Oh, the animated movie.
Yes!
Oh,
and not the
sorry.
sequels either. The first one.
Not the sequel.
Not
the first one.
sequels.
Oh, you saved yourself an aneurysm there. All right. Here we go. I feel good about this one. Okay. Pocahontas was released June 10th, 1995. It's rated G. And it runs an hour and 21 minutes.
Fine. We'll do Pocahontas. What the heck? Oh, you guys like Mel Gibson? Yeah, that was one of my likes too. Oh, you know what? I don't like Color's the Wind. Well, you can't see color in the wind. What are you talking about? It's tragic. Okay, now, can you go to the FernGully, Last Rainforest?
Fine. Let me rewind again. We got a time machine. Why not? All right. FernGully, The Last Rainforest.
Finally.
The video game?
No!
Oh, hold on. All right, FernGully, The Last Rainforest was released June 19th, 1992. It runs an hour and 16 minutes, but it feels as long as Dancing with Wolves. It's rated G, and it's directed by Bill Croyer, right? It was directed by, or it was written by Jim Cox and Diana Young, with lead stars being Samantha Mathis, Robin Williams, Jonathan Ward, Tim Curry, and the music was composed by Back to the Future Alan Silvestri.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, you ready for the box office trivia?
I mean, finally, now that we're at FernGully, the Last Rainforest, I am ready. Dustin and Brian, are you guys ready?
Let's go for it.
I'm in.
Awesome. Anyone watching in chat and anyone watching on Ken stream, but feel free to join in as well. Go for it, Paul.
All right. FernGully, that's with a capital F and a capital G, The Last Rainforest, was made for about $24 million and earned only around $21 million at the box office.
Not so great.
Not everything can be saved. All right. Given this fact, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released theatrically in 1992? And since it was released in 92, we'll go for the top 92.
Alrighty, that's quite the range. Dustin, let's start with you. Where would you say this movie fell in 1992 movies?
1992 with how much money did you say it pulled in again?
About 21 million.
I'm gonna say it came in at 25.
25. All right, Brian, what is your guess?
Well, taking into consideration that a little movie also with Robin Williams in it called Aladdin came out the same year, let's say it's at 30.
30. All right. Then in chat, Ken guesses 59, his age. Bobo guesses 15. You're breaking. This is gonna bite you in the butt. I bet you, Bobo. Are you sure you don't want to go with your tried and true 42? I'm giving you a chance now to change.
Don't worry, Bobo. You're
Bring
safe.
it. All right, fine. Fine, Bobo. Then for me, I'm going to guess 42 and be all like, haha. Yeah. That's right. So, Paul, where did it actually end up in the box office?
Okay, according to the-numbers.com, it came in at 63.
Oh,
63.
man.
All right, well, then that gives Ken the win with 59.
Good job, Ken.
Wow. Well, you know what? Thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert. Alert. Target located. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
Looking for adventure? Looking for fun?
Red light.
Looking for excitement? Then check out a place where humans exist only in fairy tales.
Humans don't have tails. They have big, big bottoms that they wear with bad shorts.
It's a magical place called FernGully. Rated G.
Yes, it's called FernGully, and it's rated G. And maybe that's all we remembered. Or maybe there's more we remembered about this animated film. Let's find out in our memory mind melt synopsis for FernGully, The Last Rainforest. Princess Peach, oh my gosh, doesn't want to rule over the other fairies and marry Hunk Fairy. But that doesn't matter because a construction crew starts to tear down the rainforest. So the fairies of the rainforest shrink one of the construction crew workers to save his life. Then they meet a crazy bat voiced by Robin Williams. And if that wasn't bad enough, Darkness Demon returns from space to become one with the smoke from the destruction of the rainforest. But the fairy uses magic and love to trap Tim Curry in a tree. Maybe Mrs. Frisbee and the rats of Nim pulled the plugs? FernGully is saved, and Krista restores Zach, who convinces the humans to help protect the forest instead of cutting it down. I mean, some of that was definitely true, but there are no Miss Frisbee and the secrets and the rats of Nim, Darkness. It was not. He didn't come from space, so unfortunately, our memories were decepted. But based on those memories, as flawed as they were, what range did they lead you to predict for FernGully before you rewatched it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's begin with Brian this time. What was your prediction for FernGully? So not your final range, But before you watched it, what was your prediction?
I was actually going with nostalgic.
Okay.
So, growing up, I remember us owning this movie.
Mhm.
I remember us having the VHS box. I remember it being on our dresser with all of the other VHSs.
Mhm.
But I would argue I probably watched this movie more times in this last week than I have in my entire childhood.
Oh, wow.
So, I didn't have a lot of recollection. I had the base skeletal idea of what the movie was about, and
Mhm.
I had some fond memories and some specific nightmarish imagery, as you might imagine. So I was expecting it was going to be a nostalgic film.
All right. Very good. Very good. Dustin, how about you?
So I was thinking about this one, and before watching it again, I immediately went to classic because of all the movies Paul referenced. that I think I even, when we were talking about doing this movie, I was like, oh yeah, and I think I even spouted off a couple of those in our just messenger chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so many movies have used this plot that I was like, this has got to be a classic movie because it's referenced so much throughout culture now.
Okay.
So I went with classic before the rewatch.
Paul, how about yourself?
I remember watching this in the theater, enjoying it, and yes, I knew ahead of time this was like one of those special things, save the rainforest kind of deals, kind of like how Star Trek 4 is save the whales.
Yes.
So if you're okay with the propaganda and all that, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember enjoying it in the theater, and we owned it too. Shortly thereafter, the family watched it. But honestly, it's been over 20 years plus since I've seen this
Same,
without any really desire to see it. But I had fond memories of it, so I predicted nostalgic.
Okay. Do you guys remember, did this come in a clamshell or was it in just the cardboard sleeve?
It was in a clamshell.
A clamshell.
Clamshell.
That makes sense.
Both, depending on the edition you
Okay,
got.
fine. Well, much like Brian and Paul, I too predicted nostalgic. I remember liking it as a kid. Thought it might at least look really nice because classic hand-drawn animation has a really nice quality to it that even holds up till today. And I thought it just might be a nice revisit, but I didn't have like super high hopes for it. But it'll be interesting to see if those predictions come true. But first, let's get into the things we liked most about FernGully. Alice, kick a bar.
Best bits.
All right, and let's start with Dustin. What is one thing you liked about FernGully?
Okay, one thing I liked about this movie is it was fun to watch an old school animation style movie that I thought you gotta mention now held up. The animation was fun. It wasn't really bad like Hanna-Barbera old school animation cartoons. Hey, I love those cartoons, but you know what I mean. It I thought the animation held up for a classic hand-drawn animated adventure, and it was fun to watch it and just appreciate the old school art and craft that was there.
I totally
makes you wonder why they don't do that nowadays.
Yeah,
it really does actually.
Yeah. I'll add on to that because that's one of my likes as well as, but more precisely, I love the animation of the goopiness when Nexus is released and he's going around the. What's it called? Not the laser cutter, the Land Rover.
Leveler.
The leveler.
Yeah, the leveler. And going on the inside, and it looked just so good. I just really enjoyed that. So.
Organic. I'll go on that because that made my like list too.
Okay.
Specifically, I enjoyed the effects animation.
Yeah.
Not the fake 3D stuff because I think that's cheating with 2D animation. But like the sparks that would fly off like during the cutting of the board scenes and like a lot of the effects of animation I thought were really good. Like the sludge and actually some of the animals were done really well. I was surprised like some of the more furry ones I thought were done well, which is kind of hard to capture, I would imagine. But so yeah, I definitely enjoyed 2D animation.
Very nice. Brian, was the animation something that made your like list, or are you
breaking it did. Oh, it did. Okay. It did, absolutely. So it's hilarious. When I was first talking with Francisco about this movie, I was like, oh yeah, I'm excited to watch this movie. I love Don Bluth animation. And then he kindly let me know that it's not a Don Bluth film. And so I did a bunch of research into it. And after watching it about 3 times this last week, I've kind of pinned it down to it's like someone took Disney characters and put them in Don Bluth style animation.
Oh, I can see that.
I really liked it a lot. And I know Paul commented on the 3D animation. I believe it was Coyer Studios that actually was one of the pioneers in 3D animation in 2D films. Which, hilariously enough, it seems like FernGully is actually the only full-length feature film made by Coyer. They were involved in a bunch of other random projects, but this is their only actual movie.
Yeah.
I liked the use of the 3D specifically because they used it mostly on the leveler itself. And it just gave it a very like alien and otherworldly feeling. Like it totally didn't belong where it was, which was exactly what they were probably going for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I don't think I realized that this was their. I know it was Brian Coyer's the director's like only feature. He's done other like special effects and animated work in other films, but he hasn't directed anything else that was a feature length. He, funnily enough, I was looking. He has a short film he directed called The Lion and the Lamb, which has Amy Grant and Christopher Reeve as narrators in it. I didn't watch it. It's only 30 minutes, but it's on YouTube if you want to go, if you're interested. But regardless, okay, so that the animation was also on your likes. Let's go back around to Dustin. What's something else you enjoyed about this film?
I liked that this movie did not rely on the love story.
Oh yeah.
You know, it had the whole, you know, he's there and he's kind of, you know, he's obviously becomes entranced with Krista, and they have the kiss, which freaks her out, and he, you know, just it kind of plays on that a little bit, but then it doesn't go back to he's doing this because he's in love with her, and the whole thing is because of the love of the fairy. The other you know, the main plot of saving the forest obviously rides the movie, but it doesn't go into that. And then at the end, you know, she says her goodbye, she makes him big again, and he goes on, and it's not like, oh, heartbreak, I'm leaving this. So I like that, because that's refreshing, I think, in a movie, to not have to rely on that element to be the plot motivator for the story.
I agree.
I don't agree, but you're welcome to your opinion on that.
I'm glad I'm welcome.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. Well, I'm curious. So in a movie like Avatar and Dances with Wolves, does that actually bother you, that romantic element?
It doesn't bother me, but I think it's cool to see a movie that didn't rely on that.
It's refreshing.
It's funny because this came out before all those movies, I believe. But it didn't have, you know, like, because in Avatar, clearly he likes the Na'vi, but I mean, a big motivator of that is he falls in love with her. In Dances with Wolves, he becomes friends with the natives, but he falls in love with the girl. This, he becomes understanding of the culture of the Rainforest and FernGully, and he has feelings for her, but that doesn't drive his motivations. That's not why he's doing what he's doing. So it was refreshing to see a take on, you know, hey, he really is understanding the heart of the people and not just the heart of one character in particular.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I guess for me, I don't know. I see what you're saying, because there's like the movie I always think of where I'm so glad there wasn't a romance. It was just platonic. Was Pacific Rim. I thought
okay. Pacific Rim. It was.
I'm just as a comparison. I'm trying to say. Sometimes I agree. I'm in your camp, Dustin. But in FernGully, it was not the case. I would have liked him to have stayed small and stayed with the fairies.
Are they even compatible? Like physically?
They're
humanoid, but do they have all the right parts?
I mean, Kirk seemed to be okay with all those aliens, so I'm sure I've been fine.
I'm on board with Dustin. I really appreciated that they were able. I know. I'm sorry, Francisco.
No, it's don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. This is welcome opinion.
This is called the Retro Rewind Podcast, also known as Dogpile on Francisco.
I appreciated that they were able to let go of the romance portion of the story so that Zach could end up becoming more responsible in his world instead of staying in their world.
Yep,
that's fair. I get that. And you know what? And I see it. It's not like it's out of nowhere, because I love the moment where he like dips his hands in the water and sees that it's oil, and he's realizing, oh crap, this is actually having an impact.
It's not crap, it's oil, by the way.
Did I say crap?
Yeah.
As in, oh my gosh, Paul, seriously. You know what I mean. Anyway, okay, so likes for Dustin. Brian, what's something else you liked? I mean, was it that there was no romance, or was it something more specific?
What I liked was the portrayal of the bad guy Hexus. Obviously, Tim Curry did an awesome job at the voice. Very, gosh, I don't even know how to put it. He's just very sinister in a very suave type of way.
Yeah.
I like how they portray at the beginning when they're explaining Hexus. You know, they're going through a like cave murals explaining their history. And, you know, it has a relative history to real life. So what they're explaining is that Hexus showed up, it drove off the humans. They believe that the humans died. But what it's showing in the cave paintings is that it was actually a volcanic eruption, which is reflective in history to Mount Warning having had a volcanic eruption 23 million years ago. So it's like there's some kind of tie-ins from that. Like Hexus showed up from that event, basically. And just there were some things that were a little confusing about Hexus, but I thought also made it interesting, like how he had it seemed he had a very clear understanding of the human language and the technology that the fairies didn't seem to have. Maybe make you kind of wonder, was there some sort of relationship that he had with the humans that the fairies didn't understand at first? And of course, he was just a very threatening and genuinely intimidating villain. And of course, the stuff of nightmares in certain portions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was about to say, I think I haven't seen every Tim Curry Tim Curry movie, but I don't recall seeing quite the range in any other film. Like through his singing, through what he does with his voice alone is a huge range throughout this film, and that I was impressed by.
Definitely. I really liked how when he first shows up, he's portrayed as just like pathetic. He just has this high-pitched, low voice that slowly grows and grows and becomes monstrous over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I feel like that's a totally valid. Like Brian, I may talk about it a little bit later, but awesome. So Tim Curry's performance. Paul, what really performed well for you about this movie?
Sir Robin Williams.
Wait, is he knighted? Was he knighted?
No, but in my head he is.
Oh my gosh.
But no. Is this his greatest role? No. But I appreciate the humor that was brought to him by the character, especially Batty in this, that helped level it out. So I thought it was a welcome mix to the elements there.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect segue into my final like before we get to Classmakers. And I was so swept up in the Batty rap. At first, when it first starts, I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, this is really great. I enjoyed it.
The name is Batty. The logic is erratic. Potato in a jacket. Toys in the attic.
I don't know. There's just something so cool. It's almost like if you've ever seen Mrs. Doubtfire and Ron Williams' character is doing this, like all these dinosaur raps. I'm a raptor doing what I can, gonna eat everything until the appearance of man. So he does these different raps with these dinosaurs, and it just felt like that. And I just thought it was really well done, just way more polished than Mrs. Doubtfire. So really enjoyed that. So right there with you on that, Paul.
I look forward to intensely disagreeing with you guys on that one later.
All right.
Okay. Interesting.
Bring it.
Okay. But now, before we get into disagreements, I mean, we still may have some, but let's get into our classic makers. What was most agreeable about the movie to us individually? Brian, let's go with you this time. What was your classic maker, your favorite thing about FernGully, The Last Rainforest?
So having watched it 3 times in a row now, back to back, basically, at first it got on my nerves, but I ended up loving the music, actually.
Oh, really?
I wasn't big on the songs that were sang by characters, but I did like the score a lot, and I did like the songs that were being sang by non-characters. So, like, for example, one of my favorite tracks is the one that comes up towards the end of the movie after Zach replants the seed and it starts to grow. And, you know, of course, well enough, the title of the track is Genesis, and it's just a very comfortable set of music that I wouldn't mind having on my playlist.
I get it. It's a Star Trek 3 reference.
Yeah, that's it, Paul.
That must be it.
What was interesting was Alan Silvestri was doing this interesting thing where sometimes he was using heavy synth and then he would go to orchestra, and I liked it. It felt like, I'm not sure why he made the choices he made, but I enjoyed listening to it as well. So I'm right there with you, Brian.
I can't wait to immensely disagree with you later.
Ooh, we have some volcanoes
infighting.
brewing.
I really enjoyed that one song though. Because it's in the forest. Remember that one, Francisco?
Yeah, I remember that one, Paul. Okay, let's go to Dustin next. Why don't you not really remind us? Why don't you just tell us your favorite thing about FernGully?
All right, so my favorite thing about this movie, I feel like we all knew the message of the movie going into it. It was obviously, save the rainforest movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they did a good job with this movie of saying we need to save the rainforest, but it was not a ram it down your throat, humans bad, we're monsters, look what we're doing. Because the guys running the machines, they were like, okay, we're gonna chop it down, we're getting overtime. But then the monster scared them away and they came back like, what just happened? They didn't say it doesn't matter, kill them anyway. Humans were not portrayed as monsters. They were portrayed as ignorant, like we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
But they were not the money grabbing, I don't care who lives there, we want this anyways people. So I for me, it was cool to see that message, like, hey, here's the rainforest, here's what's important, don't go destroying it, but let's learn and not be evil, sort of thing. So I really appreciated that message, how it was conveyed.
It gives people a ownership or agency, and like you can be a part of helping protect the rainforest.
And it lets them decide, lets the audience decide without going into the backstory of, oh, here's the history of how man has like totally destroyed forests throughout. And here are statistics, because it's a good thing they didn't give statistics, because they would have changed by now. So it helps hold up.
Absolutely.
But even with what's the bad guy's name again?
Hexus.
Hexus, you saw the movie 3 times. You know his name.
Tim Curry.
But, him coming in and him being the motivator for destroying it, and not a power hungry CEO who wants whatever. Just I really liked that take. And I know that we were I was cruising through the Facebook comments, Paul, when you put, hey, watching this movie for the podcast, and I think one person put on there, I didn't see it because I knew it was an agenda driven movie.
Ooh, really?
And I'm sure when we get to the comment section of this, you'll probably read that one.
But calling them out early.
But I remember clearly saying how you can think that with this movie. FernGully, to save the rainforest. But then watching it, just having an appreciation for it. That was the message, but I think they went about it in a very classy way.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Do we need to...
We're not talking about you, Bobo. What are you talking about? What is that, Paul?
Nothing.
Okay. Awesome, guys. Well, we still have 2 classic makers left. I am going to go with mine because I feel like we kind of talked about it already, so it's not super fresh. But for me, it's just the animation of Hexus paired with Tim Curry's voice was the perfect package. I mean, this is a lot of what you said, Brian. I thought it worked so well, conveyed that character so well. I'd say it's on par with how good Robin Williams brought to life the genie. I felt like Tim Curry really brought to life Hexus in terms of bringing an animated character to life. I wanted to see
no disrespect, but I would disagree with that.
No respect, but you would disagree.
No,
thanks.
No respect. No respect. What'd I say? No respect.
No respect at all.
No disrespect to Tim Curry, but I think Robin Williams knocked it out of the park way further than...
I'm not saying they're both home run champs, but I'm just saying...
Whoa! Don't listen to this, Tim. Even the guy praising you won't give you that much praise.
Anyway, I just really liked what he did with the character, how it was animated, the whole deal.
Did you ever see Peter Pan?
Hexus. What?
Did you ever see Pirates of Dark Water?
He was in Peter Pan and the Pirates, not Pirates of Dark Water.
That's it. Whatever the Peter Pan one he was in.
Wow. Pirates of Dark Water had nothing to do with Peter Pan.
They're pirates. They come from dark water.
Oh, so
Neverland.
Pirates of the Caribbean is a Peter Pan story also.
Yeah, they came out of Neverland and parked in the
Shipwrecked,
Caribbean.
which we can't seem to get on the podcast to save our lives, is a Peter
You want-
Pan movie.
You want to see that movie too? Cool. All right.
Correct. I've seen that movie.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have, but it won't get voted up for whatever reason. Anyway, we're way off topic. Let's bring it back, Francisco. And let's end with Paul. What is your classic maker for FernGully?
Mine is kind of similar to. Let me go off of what Dustin was saying. Is that this can be a propaganda movie, but I think they did a good job with the plot and the story. So much so that like just the story mechanics of a guy shrinking down and like, oh, isn't this wonderful, can be really hokey. But I thought they did a really great job of Krista, the fairy, setting up that she wasn't good with magic, and then sells the believability of all the shenanigans that come from that. So I enjoyed the story structure that helped me put the what is that, suspension of belief disbelief to enjoy the story. Yeah,
very cool. Okay, awesome.
Because you could really mess that up.
Oh yeah, easily. In fact, you might say they did, which we'll get into later. But
foreshadowing.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, and you know what? It might be time to get into the things we didn't like. I mean, that's part of what we do here at Retro Rewind. Is the likes, oh, wait, I'm sorry, guys. Speaking of likes, there was one more thing I liked that I totally forgot to share. The Rushmore Show. The Rushmore Show is the place for ranking the ultimate top 4 in sports, video games, nostalgia, probably Rainforest, movies, and so much more. Each week, Andy and Kirk spark engaging discussions and friendly debates, making the Rushmore Show your compass in the realm of pop culture reigns. Find them at youtube.com/The Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more.
That's great, Francisco.
Thanks.
But what does that have to do with FernGully?
I'm sure they've done like top movies of animated movies, so and FernGully's animated. So there's that. Is that good enough?
No.
Can I skip trivia?
No.
Fine. How about some trivia then, Paul?
As long as it's about FernGully, The Last Rainforest.
Maybe it's about Dustin's Wolves. Maybe it's about Avatar. Maybe it's about the video game.
All right. FernGully, The Last Rainforest, the video game.
I'm kidding.
Oh!
Did you all realize Tim Curry's original voice recordings were so eerie and sinister that it made children cry during test screenings?
Yes! I want that version.
I would love to see the director's cut with those edits.
Too. Curry had to be called back in for some less intimidating retakes. My question to you all is, what is your favorite Tim Curry film or role? So Ken says Tim Curry as It, the clown, was scary. That's fair. Let's go with Paul. What's your favorite Tim Curry movie?
I think you know because we've been friends for so
Can you give
long.
me a clue, maybe?
Yeah, Colonel Mustard called. He said, you better say it's Clue.
Very nice. Very nice. Welcome, Geek Devotions. Thank you for the raid. Hopefully the rest of your stream went well. We're doing trivia right now. What is your favorite Tim Curry movie? Feel free to join in. Let's go to Dustin next. What's your favorite Tim Curry movie?
That is also my favorite Tim Curry movie.
Oh, Clue
I love Clue.
Wow.
Absolutely love Clue.
That's awesome.
I think it's a lost film that not that many people have seen, or at least we say, have you seen Clue? Oh, we haven't. And then you watch it, and there's so many quick one-liner, the flybys, and Tim Curry is genius in that movie.
1 + 2 + 2 + 1.
Exactly.
And Brian, how about you? Do you have a favorite Tim Curry movie?
I've seen plenty of movies that have Tim Curry in it. A lot of them I could not remember off the top of my head until I started doing research. So honestly, because it's been ingrained in this last week, it probably has to be FernGully.
Oh, nice.
Totally fair. Wow. Let's see. Ken says he's seen Clue, but can't remember it. What? Oh my gosh.
I don't think he's seen it.
Geek Devotion says either Clue or Three Musketeers. He's great as Cardinal.
Yeah, he's a good
Cardinal.
villain there.
The Hunt for October. I mean, I know he's in that, Dale, but okay, that's fair. That's your
Might as well
favorite.
set a Home Alone 2. Gosh.
No, okay.
So what about you, Francisco?
Oh, for me, I mean, Clue is really high up there.
What?
I mean, I think Clue is probably Clue is it. I'll say my honorable mention though is him in Legend. I think he's great as Darkness in Legend. So,
Right.
I didn't like Rocky Horror Picture Show, Kennethan. I've seen it one time. I don't ever feel like I need to see it again. So,
I don't think you need to see it the first time.
Well,
all right. Great trivia, Francis.
I agree.
Thank you, Paul.
Now that we've all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our rad rewinders, had about FernGully, the last rainforest.
Indeed. All right. Kennethan starts us off by saying, pretty sure I watched this and yet don't remember it. FernGully, Clue? What movies do you remember, Ken? No, just kidding. IMDb didn't help me jog any memories. It must be tragic, or maybe it's an adult, or maybe as an adult, it wasn't for me. At this point in time, I had 3 kids, ages 4, 3, and 1. I think I had this on VHS still. Okay, wow.
Okay. Do you have hookups for your VHS? I mean, that... Anyway, Wardale White says Robin Williams going batty, Tone Loc having a primal need, Tim Curry falling in toxic love, and Elton John singing something about other world or some other world. These things are what I remember, and a fairy that almost became a new fire star. But I left that dream alone. That dream may not have been worth keeping, but this movie was quite the classic.
Is that part of the song at the end? The dream may not be worth keeping. Is that what he's referencing there?
Mr. Music Classic Maker, do you remember that line?
I think it was a line that was in the song when the Krista and Zach were exploring around together after they found his Walkman. I think
that makes sense. Was Elton John even in this film?
I saw in the trivia he did something, but I don't know.
I think he's sang the music for the credits.
Okay.
Let's see. Who Will Save Generation X podcast says, what I remember most about FernGully is how James Cameron ripped it off to write Avatar.
Good call. Jesse Cleva Vital says, great movie and great animation. Definitely a classic.
All righty. Ashley Ruiz says, I remember seeing this movie in theaters when I was 5, but don't remember all that much from that experience or subsequent rewatch that may or may not have happened in the past 25 to 30 years. Tim Curry was perfectly haunting as Hexus, and Robin Williams was charming yet erratic as Batty Coda. 2 of the few things I remember from this film.
And David Bobke says, I remember hearing that Robin Williams and Tim Curry were in a movie together, and I was wondering, how have I not seen this before? And then I remembered it was FernGully, and I had no interest in watching it because I didn't want to, quote, save the rainforest agenda down my throat. Shoved down his throat. All right. He goes on to say, maybe I should have enjoyed it if I had given it a shot. Maybe I would have enjoyed it if I had given it a shot, he says. And he continues, but I wonder, what didn't you guys enjoy about the movie?
Great point, Bobo. Well, let's discuss that and get into things we didn't like about FernGully, The Last Rainforest.
Worst woos.
And how about Dustin? Why don't you kick us off?
Okay, maybe this is just me. Thank you. Francisco would like to do that to me every time I beat him in his board game. Anyways,
how dare you bring that into this?
9-0. Anyways, we maybe this is just me, but I felt like there were many scenes where the dialogue and facial expressions of the characters were kind of clunky with weird delays. Just like one person would say, "We should do this." Yeah, okay. It seemed like the timing was off with the the way the conversation was flowing. So to me, it made it feel like the conversation was forced. It wasn't naturally flowing between the characters. And that was more so in the beginning of the movie than it was middle and end.
Interesting.
But it was enough for me to write that down in my notes. Like, what is happening right now with the way they're talking to each other?
Yeah. You know what? Similarly, I didn't have that same issue, but in terms of like right at the beginning of the movie, something that already you're already going sideways on me movie. So Magi's or Maggie is telling Krista about the is essentially catching up the audience with the exposition of what's been going on. And so Krista though leaves Maggie, apparently only to see the landscape, and Maggie's wanting her to come back. No, don't go. And then Krista comes back, and then Maggie's not interested in anything. Just like, oh, well, I guess I'll talk to you a little bit. But no.
Well, why would you talk to somebody who's ignoring you and runs out on you?
Well, if it is so important for her to be there, she should be glad she's back. Yeah.
I don't know. Right. I've been there.
Been there, done that.
I've been on both sides. I get it.
So yeah, I guess my biggest complaint then would be a little bit of pauses, but to me it just made it feel like a lot of the opening half or so of the movie, or opening third, whatever you want to call it, was very forced dialogue.
Okay. Do you remember a specific line at all that you felt was really forced?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I do think a lot of it was between Krista and Zach.
Christian Slater. Oh, Zach. Okay.
Yeah. No. Well, some with Christian Slater as well, because I think his lines. I think honestly, you can go in. I think he was a wasted character in the whole movie.
Absolutely.
Totally wasted character.
I felt like they needed him for the love triangle that they never were trying to. They never ended up materializing. Yes. It's like, okay.
That's because he was too busy betraying Robin Hood.
Ah, yes. Will Scarlet.
Oh my gosh. No, he is busy looking for a nuclear warhead that John Travolta took.
No, he's busy playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on his way to find his brother to California.
Well, at least Francisco referenced the movie that Christian Slater and Princess Peach were in together again with Broken Arrow.
Oh, wait, she was in it.
That was the two of them. Yes, it was.
Oh, I don't think I'd realized that.
I thought she was only in these two movies, Mario and this.
Ironically, the only other, or not the only, but the last movie I reviewed with you guys, episode 295. Mario, check it out.
Yeah, with a horrible like of dancing. Can you believe these people liking dancing?
Oh man, I don't. Let me cue up the song.
Anyway, you can't play that multiple times, Paul. You have a quota of 1.
I just did.
Who doesn't have who has a quota of 3 is still Brian. Brian, why don't you give us one of your dislikes for?
Oh boy, so one of my dislikes, kind of what you were saying a little bit earlier, Francisco, was that the storytelling kind of fell off into weird spots that didn't make a lot of sense. So like I got a few different notes that I wrote, really quick things. It's like, so for example, what's Maggie's relation to Krista? Like, is she her mother? Is she her teacher? It's safe to assume that she's the leader of the fairies, but why is Krista's responsibility to take on her role in the future? No, it's not really talked about. And then there's things like, the forest spirits can't fly above the tree line because of falcons, but this happens multiple times throughout the movie and never seems to be an issue that comes up ever again. There's a line that Maggie says, everyone can call on the magic power of the web of life. You have to find it in yourself. But why does she just give her everyone's power then at the end of the movie? So it's multiple stuff like that. There's a lot of things that are really unclear that I don't think they took a lot of time to explain, or they just threw into the movie for the sake of, we need to get to the plot point. This is the easiest way to do it. Let's just do it this way.
Yeah. I feel like I wish there was a bit more underpinning, I guess I'll say. And this is one of my dislikes as well. A little bit more underpinning to the magic system in this, like something to sort of.
No, you don't want to explain. Then you get the midichlorians.
No,
you don't want
that. But just like something, it could have been as slight as Chris is the only one that has the magic power that Maggie.
No, they all do.
Has what?
Krista's gonna grow up to rule the Mushroom Kingdom. She has to get the power.
Well, that's okay. Then there's what's special about her that she has it as opposed to anyone else. I want.
They all have it. Don't they all make the tree at the end?
Why is she just teaching Krista and not everyone else? And why not a class of people? And Krista's the one that...
That's because she's a bad girl and she's taking summer school. Everyone else passed.
Because in the words of Zach, she's a bodacious babe, right?
Yeah.
So that's why.
Speaking of Zach, another thing that I wrote down is that it's unclear what kind of power Zach has over the forest, because the movie kind of hints multiple times that he's able to do something.
Yeah,
he clearly can do some things, but there's no evidence or suggestion that he's able to do anything more at the end of the movie, and it feels like it was kind of wasted.
What he can do is he can tell the humans to knock it off. He can communicate on behalf of the fairies. That's what I felt.
Yeah, but he's doing things where he's touching the tree and he's feeling the pain now. I mean, there's some transference of magic into him. So like,
did he actually do anything, or was he just feeling what they could feel?
Well, but
Zach was following the script.
I don't feel anything except for the roughness of the tree bark. So what is happening that he can now feel the pain? I want something that explains this to me in some way.
When you get close to the Force, you can start using it too.
There was one specific scene that really confused me when it came to those powers, and that's the scene when Zach and Krista are together, and Zach lights the match. Krista burns her hand, and then he takes her hand and absorbs it, and his hand turns green. I didn't get what that was supposed to really be saying.
Yeah, is he healing her? Is she giving him her power? I don't know what's going on.
It's transference when you're that small. The magic of
yeah. Okay, fine, Paul. So that was something else I didn't like was that. Paul?
I have some inconsistencies that I didn't like either. I'll point a couple out here.
Good.
Okay. One, apparently Zach is Australian because according to his license, it says he's from Australia. So this either takes place in Australia or he's Australian visiting the Amazon rainforest.
I saw someone point that out somewhere, and it's actually like a work visa that we see in the
It's a worker's permit.
Worker's permit.
So if
issued in Australia, but
if anything, he should at least have an Australian accent. Him or somebody.
He has like a visa. That's like he's working.
To be fair, on the same permit, it also says he has an address in New South Wales.
So there should be somebody should have an Australian accent. I don't know.
That not even the two guys in the machine had. Australia. Yeah, I agree. There should have been something.
And going off what Brian said on the first half about Hexus knowing too much, how does he know about double shifts and breaks, like taking breaks and all this this extra human knowledge? If he has that much knowledge, he should be turning the machine around and heading back to a factory where he can be constantly feeding off smoke and stuff, not just stuck out in the middle of a rainforest.
You'll learn a lot when you're stuck inside of a tree for thousands of years.
Well, it doesn't add up.
I mean,
he was blinded by rage and hatred for the FernGully.
That's what I was going to say. As soon as he got rid of FernGully, he is going to hightail it back to the city. I bet you anything.
Well, that's ridiculous. Well, then he deserves to be caught again. You're going to stick my hand in the fire and get burned? Okay, try it again. Oh, I got burned. Well, that's what you get.
Of your favorite Disney movies, the antagonist falls on their own sword because they get greedy or they get jealous or something.
Yeah, they don't learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, smart villains are better.
Agreed.
All right. This isn't a smart villain.
We're in heated agreement right now. I think. Continue. Anything else on that?
Oh, there's more, but I'll leave it. It's getting along.
Okay. I think you gave us one, but all right.
I gave it two. No Australians, and Hexus knows too much.
Right. Fine. Let's go back to Brian. What's something else you didn't like, Brian?
Something else that I didn't like was the runtime.
Oh.
So I'm going to preface that all of my dislikes in the movie tie into each other in a way.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So my issue with the runtime, so something that I noted, I ended up doing way too much research for this silly kids movie. So at the time they started making this movie, the average runtime for an animated film was about 75 minutes.
Okay.
And starting in 1990, they increased the average runtime to about 85 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This movie really needed 10 more minutes, honestly.
I disagree. I mean, I agree with you on the runtime, but
he wants
it should have been a lot less.
I feel like, so this will tie into more later, but I feel like there wasn't enough time to really explain a lot of stuff. And it ended up, like I said, causing a lot of problems in the movie where they were running low on time. They needed to get to the next thing and they shortcutted and it just didn't work.
No,
that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of things wasn't explained, but does it really need explained?
Yes, it does.
Maybe not to your toddler, but I wouldn't put my toddler in front of this movie either. So
very true.
I think I can piggyback off of that with dislikes, but also disliking the runtime. But I think more in line with Paul on this one, whereas I think that there was some stuff where they could have gone to explain more and made it longer, but what they decided not to explain, they could have equally cut out some stuff and made it shorter and been
don't-
to the point, kept it going. Like, and one of the things I put on that same note is like, all right, they could have made it shorter because they didn't go the route of the love story.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, that was one of the things I liked about it. But since they didn't go that route, then why even have the kiss and the frolicking together?
Right.
And then like, it's like, you know what? You're not going to go that route. That's pointless to the whole
Yes.
point of the movie.
Agreed. Also,
So I thought they could have cut some stuff out.
yeah, I feel like a lot of the musical stuff isn't needed either. Just this doesn't
agree.
strike me as a
Yeah.
musical anyway. Just cut that out. Give Tone Loc's character, the lizard. I think this is a cool character. Use him for something else. Have him be team up with Texas or something. Or Batty.
Potato in a jacket.
You know, I had a gripe with his song as well until I watched it 3 times in a week. And then I kind of like, you know, trying to get some like understanding. And it's like, okay, the scenes that are immediately following it, it's kind of used to really establish Zach in his situation and help him understand, oh, I am only 3 inches tall now.
Yeah, but I don't know if you need a whole
song
for that.
I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm
Yeah,
not accusing it.
That's fair. We're gonna wait a minute because
Edna mode.
Edna mode. Dustin dropped out of the call.
Wah, wah.
He's saying something to me now. I'm gonna reboot. Okay. So he's rebooting. Hold on. No worries. No worries.
All right, let's start all over.
Oh my god.
All right.
Dances with
Retake.
Wolves.
Last of the Mohicans.
This was not Last of the Mohicans at all.
No, it's not. No.
Oh my god.
What was the movie you guys said you'd hope gets voted up? That, I think there's many, but this time it was Shipwrecked.
What was it? Yeah, Shipwrecked. That's what it was. I think me and you, Paul, are the only ones who really
Are
want to see that again.
It's like we should have our own podcast, you know?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Forget. I don't know whose podcast we're on right now, but if we had our own.
I'll just leave. It's okay, guys.
Oh wow.
No, you're here. Did you vote this up over Shipwrecked, Brian?
No.
Okay, then you're fine.
So
you're not the enemy here.
I think you're a little. I don't know if you're aware, Brian. So we have people that, if you go to retrorewindpodcast.com/vote, everyone is able to vote up the movies that they want us to cover.
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone. So if you want to go through the list, there's like 4 different lists based on sort of categories. You can vote the movies that you want to see us. And the ones at the top, when we get to the sort of that season, we will cover that movie.
Sounds cool.
Welcome back, Dustin. Before I get back into it, though, let me catch up with chat here.
I'm sorry. That just
says,
all of a
"What was
sudden
that movie
everything
you
just
guys-"
fucked up.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Shipwrecked. I think it's on the list. Ken says cast and crew, user reviews, trivia. What is all
He
this?
just copy and pasted the information on Shipwreck.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No worries, Ken. You vote movies up and then say Popeye. Yuck. We're not reviewing that one.
Can you guys hear me? Am I
Yeah,
good?
we can hear you.
Yeah, you're good, Dustin.
Yeah. I don't know if Francisco can hear you.
No, I can't. Oh, sorry. Hold on. That's probably
There have
me.
been movies that we have rejected, Bobo, but Popeye was not one of those in
Talk
that
again,
regard.
Dustin.
Testing.
Okay,
1, 2,
I hear
3.
you now. Cool.
Okay.
It's
I
usually
was
more
saying
of
I'm-
the horror flicks that people suggest that
Yeah.
we were like, no.
Not
I was saying,
All the-
Francisco, I'm sorry. Just all of a sudden, everything just froze. Mouse cursor, everything, like total
gosh.
lock up.
Yeah,
That was
no worries.
Weird.
I'm glad. Thank you for just
Like
getting
discipline.
back in as fast as you can. Really appreciate that. Okay, let me double check here. So I have Dustin and Brian have given me 2 dislikes. Paul and me have both done 1. Is that right, Paul? Or have you done 2?
No, I've done one.
Done 1.
I gave you 2 with my one.
I've done
but
2.
I've done 1.
I've done
Oh,
2.
so it's my turn again.
So yeah, it's your turn. So let me set you up though.
Set me up.
Okay. All right, let's go to Paul for one more dislike before we get into our tragic makers. Go for it, Paul.
All right. I know I said I like the animation, or at least some of it, but my goodness, it's certainly not one of the things that I like most because some of this animation is just horrible. Now, sorry,
Oh,
Disney
no.
sets the bar.
Can I give an example of this horrible animation?
Yeah. I have a few. Let's see if you can guess one of them.
One that comes to mind that I even as soon as I saw it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember as a kid I thought that looked weird. So Krista's doing some magic thing, and she just makes this smirk, and her lips get all red and puffy, and like look like there's blood on her mouth. It's always looked, and they do it twice. They reuse those cells twice, so you see it twice. Is that one of them?
No, but that's fair.
There is a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please. No.
I was going to say there is. I actually wrote it down at in the middle of the movie at timeline 2650. There is a scene where Krista is flying around Zach and her wings are detached from her body.
I believe it, because there's a scene at one point where she's coming down to sit by her father or something, and the father is standing there with his arms up very still the whole time. And even when she's in front of him, naturally you would think his arm would come down around her, but it isn't until the very last instant second that she's standing right by him that his arm comes down and wraps around her. It's way off. And I think this goes, it's what Dustin was saying earlier about some of like the cutting of like some of the dialogue seemed off, but there were some like animation movements with the mouth that was off too, and in parts of it I was like, am I watching a dub version? Like, what's going on here? Most of the film was fine, but there were some scenes, I think there may have been rewrites where they overdid
redubbed
and that could contribute to like some of the awkward editing that Dustin was mentioning too.
That may have been what I was noticing too, and just kind of pinpointing like, what is happening in this scene?
So a lot of this is just subpar. I mentioned some of like the furry animals, but some of the other animals were look like they were animated by like high schoolers. They're like, here, you guys have a chance with these animals. And it's like, it wasn't consistent across. For example, another thing I wrote down is the fairy's hair. Like it would blow against the wind, but when they were upside down, the hair didn't fall down. They stayed like the gravity was up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's inconsistencies. There's not a lot of thought that went into, unfortunately. Some of that it's not the same amount of thought that went into like Tim Curry's character.
Yes.
So I did not like the animation overall.
Okay. That's interesting, because I would have thought that would have been your tragic maker, but
there's things worse. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. But let's start with Dustin. What is your tragic maker for FernGully?
All right, Brian, this is where you're gonna hate what I say.
Bring it on. I can.
I know you said
I don't know if you can take mine.
The first time you said you didn't like it, and it took you 3 watches to get it. I felt like I didn't want to watch it again because I could not get on board with the music in this movie.
Yeah.
I know, Francisco, you said you liked Batty's rap, and there was some fun elements to it, but I also was just like, I don't know. I felt like anytime it broke out into song, I was like, I feel like this is trying to be a Disney movie, and it is not a Disney movie. It's not his production, even though Batty is very similar to Genie in the Robin Williams takes and jokes. And I don't know if anyone else thought this. Krista's dad is almost spot on for Sultan in Aladdin as well.
It's the same character, same actor.
But he has the same white look, bushy mustache, the same build. Now, granted, this came out before, or at least it was worked on before. But it just looking back, it feels like it's very. And Francisco, you'll get this second class in comparison.
So I really felt like this team was thinking, let's make a Disney caliber Rainforest movie. You know, we have our agenda, we want to communicate, but let's make a Disney caliber movie. And they missed the mark. And I think they missed it with the songs big time. Really,
you know what?
I missed it by about $20 million.
Yeah,
no kidding.
And an hour and 15 minutes because I completely agree, Dustin. The music was my tragic maker as well.
I couldn't get on board.
The whole I lost count of how many different styles of music that this movie had, and that may work well like as a mixtape kind of a thing, but a lot of it was just, it didn't blend well. Like for example, the scene where Zach gets shrunk down and he goes onto a leaf and he starts like air surfing down. In less than 30 seconds, you have 3 different styles of music in that short time period, and then they overlap, and they don't overlap well. I'm going, what is going on here with this beat here? And then I find out 45 seconds later, oh, it's another song introduced by Tone Loc that had nothing to do with the instrumental music going on at the same time, along with the introduction of the electric guitar, trying to be quote unquote cool. It's just a lot of it did not fit well, and it was frustrating. It was like, why am I watching this?
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that. So in my very original notes that I wrote for this movie, I was really sour watching it. And I ended up writing around that scene where Tim Curry starts singing, I wrote, there doesn't seem to be a lot of restraint in the music.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think there would be someone who disagrees with you, Paul. Probably Land of 1,000 Dances would disagree with you.
Yeah. Well,
say, nah.
Well, I think Alan Silvestri would disagree with me too, and I was sorely disappointed when I found out he was involved because, hey, I expect better from you, Mr. Silvestri.
Well, I mean, it's not like Basil Polidoris did this score. Then it'd be fantastic, but
hey, John Billiams could have done better.
All right. Let's enough. We're doing so many deep cuts in this one. Okay, let's go to Brian next. What was your tragic maker for FernGully?
I don't know if you guys are ready for this one. I don't know if you are.
Let me
music.
I'm ready.
It was Batty.
Yeah.
It was Batty.
What do you like about Batty?
He was on my dislikes list as well, so I get it.
Oh my gosh, Dustin.
So I ended up writing more notes about this than literally anything else.
Yes, bring it.
So my very first note I wrote that I watched this movie and he showed up on screen was as obnoxious as I thought he'd be. So I did a little bit of research, and I would argue to an extent, Batty literally almost tanked this movie.
Really?
So originally, Robin Williams was only supposed to have 8 minutes of screen time as Batty.
Mm-hmm.
They liked his improv humor so much that they tripled the amount of screen time that Batty had.
Mm-hmm.
And that took away from anything that could have gone to like Maggie or Pips, the Bug Gang, Chris's father, any character that I would have been more interested in than listening to Batty sing the Batty rap.
Oh, come on.
So it's and like on top of that, I don't know if you guys knew anything about like the backstory of this movie, but Robin Williams actually signed onto it before he signed on to Aladdin.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were asking him to be removed from FernGully so that he could focus on Aladdin. He said no. And Disney tried sabotaging FernGully essentially, because what was happening was every time Croyer Films would try to get a studio to use, Disney would go to that studio and end up paying more for the rental costs to be able to get that studio from being able to use it.
Wow.
To the point where when they went and bought their own studio, Disney actually tried to purchase it out from under them. They were just really not happy that Robin Williams was involved in this film. But I mean, beyond that, I just didn't like him as a character. I thought he was underdeveloped. I thought there were too many problems that I didn't like about him. I didn't like the Batty rap. Honestly, I can understand the appeal of it, but like listening to the lyrics of it, it's like it feels super inappropriate to have a child listen to a song like it. It's really dark. It's a really dark piece of music.
Vivisection and all that. Yeah, that is.
Yeah. All the experimentation and cutting and stuff, and there's I hate. Right. I hate how he suddenly goes from hating Zach to suddenly being okay with Zach with no explanation whatsoever aside from Zach saying,
yeah.
It is unreasonably quick, because what ends up happening is when Zach is talking to him, there's a scene that comes up first off where Batty says, nobody cares about me, because a bunch of the fairies walk by him when he's trying to explain, oh, I'm okay, or whatever. When that's totally misproven throughout the entirety of the movie, because people are paying attention to Batty all the time. And then Zach is like, yeah, right. And Zach says, oh, I like you, Batty. And then Batty immediately soon after makes a personal attack against him, yada, yada. future comes by, Zach says something along the lines of saying that Batty was right, and then suddenly Batty likes him. Suddenly everything's cool. Everything's cool between him and Zach. And he says,
hey Brian, if you tell me I'm right, we're cool.
in Batty's defense,
Fair.
he couldn't think straight the whole movie.
That is a good defense.
With Batty, I wish they had leaned into more of the antenna thing. Like maybe that's how they find out how that Hexus is coming, or there's more to it than just a gimmick. It felt like it was just a reason to give Robin Williams extra material to do or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, they liked his improv so much they wanted to just use a ton of it. And I'll end my rant on this last note that I had, and it's that at the very last scene when Batty is found by Zach and picks him up, I thought it could have been a really good heartfelt scene, right? A scene where Zach is full human size, he can treat Batty with respect, and Batty can understand, okay, regular human, he's okay. But you know what happens? None of that. Of course not. Of course that doesn't happen, because instead, Batty just yells, "I've shrunk!" and then he flies away.
Yeah.
That got a chuckle out of
so
me.
disappointed.
I know, it was a laugh. It was a great joke, part of the humor, one of the things that I mentioned about, but I agree with you, Brian. They should have taken a moment and said maybe humans aren't so bad after all.
Oh yeah. That would have been
And
nice.
then fly away or something to that.
Yeah.
You know, on the topic of Disney sabotaging them, though, do you think Disney wrote the songs for FernGully then? Hey, use these. These will be good. Yes.
We promise.
This will get everybody on board.
Oh my gosh, that'd be next level sabotage.
No, you know, if anything, it did give Robin Williams a good practice run so he could perfect his genie role.
Yeah,
it was his first role in an animated film.
Yeah. Paul, did you did your Tragic Maker, didn't you? The music.
Yes, the music was
Then that leaves my Tragic Maker, which isn't much of a Tragic Maker at all, but I'll say it just because it bothered me. This is Rainforest. Where's the rain? There's no rain in this rainforest, guys. I don't think there's
middle of
one
summer
scene with rain.
They had a big machine. They weren't going to chop down trees in the middle of the rain. You know, they had to look at the weather app and forecast.
Francisco,
yes.
I did not want to wait more time than an hour and 15 minutes for rain.
They could have just had rain throughout the whole thing. That's fine. It's a rainforest.
Yeah.
So I get that. That's the effects for that would be way more. And I mean, I know you could sort of fake it with just like lines going on or whatever.
Right.
But still, I mean, it would be nice to have that at least a little bit. It being a rainforest and all.
Right.
But I thought that was just ridiculous. But now that we've entered all our trajectories into the firing computer, Alice, you have a firing solution for us.
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo armed and ready to fire on your mark.
What happened to the authority?
The salvos are armed and ready. What's the problem?
I don't know. For 300 episodes, there's been salvo authority.
Salvo authority.
Go back and listen, folks. Pick any episode you like.
At the ready. And now there won't be any confusion about what it's saying because it's salvos armed and ready, or at the
All right, so you took away the salvo authority, whatever that was.
Anyways, guys. See, I'm saying anyways again. See, this is what you're frustrating me, Paul.
You're losing control.
But let's get into control of the moment of truth where we rate FernGully a classic. We'd recommend anyone go see this movie, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's worth watching if you like watched it as a kid. Yeah, watch it again as an adult. You'll have a fun time with it. But if you've never seen it before, watch something else. Maybe watch Aladdin. Or do we rate it a tragic? It's not worth anyone's time today. If you've never seen it before, keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. So let's begin with our guests as we like to. Dustin, what is your final rating for FernGully?
I thought you were going to say, if you haven't seen it, go watch something else like Pocahontas, Dances with Wolves, Last Samurai. Just go down Avatar. Go down the list.
All right, Avatar.
Oh my God,
released 2009.
So I think I said I gave it a classic pre-rating.
You had predicted classic, yes.
Yeah, predicted classic. After watching it, I'm definitely going to drop down to nostalgic.
Okay. Nostalgic.
Now, I'm not going to lie. There were some elements in this movie that almost made me go tragic. Just all right, there's a lot better movies than this out there to watch. If you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. Watch Pocahontas Stands with Wolves. Go down that line, because there's other movies that did the same plot better as a whole movie.
Yeah.
But it didn't go down into tragic range. But I would say nostalgic.
Okay, nostalgic. Very good, very good. Brian, you had predicted nostalgic. What was your final rating for FernGully?
I'm pretty much in agreement with Dustin. It's nostalgic, very closely bordering on tragic.
Okay.
There are good things in this movie.
Oh,
there are things that I do like about the movie for sure. And you could argue it has some significance being Robin Williams' first role in an animated film and really the only film produced by this studio.
Yeah.
Being a competitor to Disney at a time in some way. But there's so much that brings the movie down for me. I mean, outside of just baddie, it just has a lot of pacing issues and a lot too many shortcuts to different points.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of inverted on the scale. I'm more, if you've seen it already, don't watch it. You're fine. If you haven't seen it yet, give it a try. You might like it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Nostalgic.
But ultimately nostalgic. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm not dying to show my kids this one. Like, it's not on the Aurora and Avery, they'll love FernGully. If they happen one day to come across it and be like, what's this? Yeah, let's watch it. It's cool. But I'm not going to be like, family movie night, FernGully, let's go.
Exactly.
It's not on the list.
Yeah. What about FernGully 2?
Oh.
Yes. All baddie.
The search for more rain, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm not. As soon as we get to that final scene with Hexus, it's like, okay, kids, time to leave the room. Movie's over.
I want more of that. I thought he was killed too quickly. But anyway, regardless.
Oh, don't worry. He's still out there, Francis.
Oh, okay. Because he's in that tree.
FernGully
3. Now we like to go to our reflex capacitors, the people that make this time travel podcast possible. With their awesome financial support. And you guys collectively rated FernGully a nostalgic. So now we have 3 nostalgic so far. So it doesn't really matter what Paul and I vote. But let's go to us nonetheless. Paul, what is you had predicted nostalgic. What was your final rating for this film?
I believe this, in my opinion, fits the definition of don't sully this with the rewatch. So tragic.
Whoa.
I cannot believe Brian watched it 3 times. I think there's much better ways to utilize your time, much better films.
Well, he was trying to be super prepared for the podcast, which we appreciate greatly.
Well, I was about to say, at first I appreciate, but then I'm like, oh, you poor thing.
Once was enough for me.
Yeah. No, tragic. I can't say that enough to if you did watch it, I think it's great if you did watch it.
Oh.
But don't watch it again.
Okay.
Would I recommend watching it for a first time? No. I think you benefit from watching it once back before we knew better. Now we know better, and we have better movies. So move along.
So of all the ones you listed, Paul, what one would you recommend as the one to go?
Well, there was only one of those that was animated, and that was Avatar.
All right.
Yeah.
So three nostalgics and a tragic. For me, I had predicted nostalgic, and I was really torn. I think I'm kind of in the Dustin Brian camp.
Man,
there's a lot that I could very easily have made this a tragic, but it was enough fun. It was enough stuff that I liked that I'd rate it nostalgic. It's just like, yeah, this is fine. I won't really see it again ever. I'm glad I saw it again as an adult, though, to just have a good sort of honest assessment of it. And if you saw it as a kid, you might like seeing it again. It might be a fun refresh or a travel down memory lane. But yeah, it's certainly not one of those like, oh, let me go out and rent it. So according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate FernGully: The Last Rainforest a disputed nostalgic film. We'd recommend, again, like I just said, if you've seen it before, yeah, it's not going to be the worst worst use of your time to watch it again. But if you've never seen it, go watch Avatar or The Last Hauntus or something.
Cricket.
But now it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Firing.
Nope, that was the wrong bumper. Let's Edna mode that.
Edna mode.
And try again. Let's get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Sat online. Awaiting incoming transmissions.
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1992 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Deborah Powers, Geek Devotions, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Ruiz, Kennethan, Fowers Lomax, That's Our Bobble, D. Tungsten, Mr. Lost, Daryl Hafner, Cool Deluxe, Dustin, He's a Big Deal Warford, Flux, Redeemed Otaku. Oh, and he's right here too. Redeemed Otaku, in addition to 2 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
And since there was a lack of Australians in this film, I present this.
Well, hello there, mate. This stream is the most beautiful stream I've ever seen. And you know what? This stream is sponsored by the one and only PaulJPowers.com.
So, Francisco, are there ways to support the show that won't take a ding from your virtual wallet?
Let me put this podcast on the Bobby.
Yeah, good night.
On the Bobby, because I can do Australian. Actually, yes, Paul. You probably enjoyed this episode if you made it this far. So if you aren't driving, tap the share icon in the podcast in your podcast player for this episode and send it to a friend saying, I know you like FernGully, or you remember liking FernGully, The Last Rainforest. I thought you might like this podcast on it.
Cool. And I'll bet they'll thank you for it.
I think they will.
And speaking of thanking people, we want to give a big tree-hugging hug to Brian Scott and Dustin Warford for supporting their thoughts about FernGully, The Last Rainforest. Since I like to go in alphabetical order, let's start with Brian. Where can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on that people should know about?
No. But
excellent.
I am on Rumble under Cryan18. I don't have any content at the moment, but I've been looking to get something started on there, so we'll see what happens.
All right.
Very cool. And that's Cryan with a K, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Is there a G at the end?
Oh.
You can pretend there's a G, but you probably won't find me if you do.
Okay, cool. And thank you. Let's also go to... Man, I don't know if we can go over here because he's such a big deal. Let's see if he has fun. Let's see if he has time for us. Hey, Dustin, are you still here?
I respect the recognition, guys.
All right. Thank you for joining us. And how can people find you online? What's going on with you?
They can find me at ccpuyallup.com. That is Puyallup. That's the church that I pastor up in Washington. We're close in the Seattle area, but online every week there, doing my best to deliver some words from Scripture. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, Ghetto Kids Preacher, because I was a children's pastor for 13 years. And or if you just want to see me totally dominate Junkyard Juggernauts, jump onto the Francisco streams of the playtests. And the one you won't find on there is one I actually played with Cryan in person in Seattle. And that was a ton of fun. But I've got a 9-0 streak going, so it's a pretty fun game to check.
Wow, that's impressive.
I don't even have a 9-0 streak, or I don't have any type of streak like that. I have a losing streak, if anything. Anyway, thank you so much, Brian, Dustin, my awesome, not a fairy, a very awesome human, Paul, and all your rewinders, new and old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome.
I want to thank Alutrick for enhancing our music. Find him at alutrick.bandcamp.com or youtube.com/@alutrick. That's spelled ALLOOUTRICK, then the number 8266 for the YouTube. So thank you so much to him.
That's weird to put it there.
Yeah, and I just realized because you're saying you're welcome. So where? Because.
Etna mode.
Yeah, but I mean, because that's what we did in 300. Is I thanked you guys. Oh, maybe I thank him after Brian and Dustin, and then I thank you. I think that would make more sense because then you would say you're welcome, and you can find me at pauljpowers.com.
Yeah, put it. Let's see. Can you drag it down? All right. You can edit and switch this. Thank you. Oh, wait. You're welcome. You can find me, pauljpowers.com, at pauljpowers.com.
And because I want to give myself more editing, let me do a lead-in for that, which then I will just bump up before what Paul just said.
All right.
And also want to thank my awesome, very fun-loving friend, pauljpowers.com. All right. And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord. And like Dustin alluded to, if you want to find out more about the board game I'm designing called Junkyard Juggernauts, head over to junkyardjuggernauts.com.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
And as Hexus just said, we are now part of the Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media.
Thank you, EXO, and thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for I am Iron Man, our next adventure on the Retro Rewind podcast.
I thought you were going to say Sling Blade for a second.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to base to await next mission.
Give me some tater and some Iron Man.
It's been lovely, but I got a hoon. Adios, amigos. Check, please.
Okay. Oh, wow.
There's only so much I have to work with.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Snowkid47, for hanging out on the Rumble side. Great job. Thank you so much. Yes, and FernGully was childhood trauma in a way, for sure. Thank you on the Twitch side, Bobo and Ken, and anyone watching on Ken's stream. Appreciate you guys. And Geek Devotions, thanks for coming over. Dale for coming over. I assume with the raid. Reed Riot, or Red Riot, probably Red Riot, not Red. Reed Riot, I'm sure that's your name. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that very much.
Hey.
I'm trying to see if there's anyone else. I think that's most of it.
Did you say Bobo?
If you're still here. Oh, what was that, Paul?
I said, did you say Bobo?
I thought I said Bobo. If not, Bobo.
He deserves an extra one.
Yes, he does deserve an extra one. And
he's almost a big deal, as big of a deal as Dustin.
Almost. He's almost there. And now he's going to go watch FernGully, the last Ernest movie. Wow. You go do that, Bobo. I'm also oh my gosh. Okay, we are going to go to our spiritual speculation now. Just to give you a preview of something I will probably be bringing up for those that support the podcast. They have access to our spiritual speculations. I'm going to be bringing up the idea of the magic of creation existing in a tiny seed. So we saw that in the movie, and so might be expanding on that. But we're going to end the show there. Definitely go over and check out Kennethan's stream on Twitch if you're there. KENNETHAN, or you could click on his name, go over there, because I think he's going to continue streaming after this. But thank you for simulcasting, Ken. And until next time, guys, here is your stream face.
So you're not going to raid Ken? Like, would that be inverted on itself if he raids you and you raid him?
Yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm just going to stream. So, Brian, this is just a silly face we do at the end as we're closing out the stream. So
my face is already silly. It's cool.
Yeah, I was about to say, some people do it, some people don't. I'm surprised this stream is still going on. He hasn't ended it by now.
We're not doing stream faces.
Hey, there's the stream face right there.